All right. Hey, everybody. I'm going to move that up a bit. Can you hear me okay? Is that all right? All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Good to see everybody. We're going to be talking about multi-site, basically multi-site implementations done right. Before we get into all of this good stuff, how many people today are on some form of multi-site platform? Today are using multi-site? We got a few here. Yeah, okay, awesome. Perfect. Okay, great. So getting right into it, before getting all into the good stuff, well, this is Austin Amento.
Perfect. And this is Josh Northcott.
And we're gonna just be right into dig into all the good stuff here in terms of multi-site. So first, before we also talk about all the things we've learned, a couple things we want to just really set the stage for is the top 3 reasons why multi-site itself gets messy. There's one big thing, and we're just gonna kind of talk through a couple pieces because we know we got 15 minutes. We could probably be here all day talking about multi-site, but when it comes to multi-site itself, inconsistent branding and messaging, that's where things get messy. I know we got a lot of people in here. Does anyone not maybe they feel like there's a lot of maybe issues they've had on their multi-site implementation, things that don't work right? Yeah, I see some heads nodding. Yeah, feel free. Yeah, right? There's these things. So this is what we find is the key elements of how it can get messy. One is that inconsistent brand messaging. So when multiple sites aren't in sync, it's all over the place, right? The messaging is wrong, the tone's wrong in different sites, different places. When the tech itself with the maintenance side of things, managing and updating security patches, is there any backend developers in here? Okay, oh heck yeah, you're my people then. Okay, so we know how this can get really rough, especially with all the integrations. I mean, imagine, right, you have 200 sites, and they're not all in sync, and they're not all under really one code base. You now have a logistical nightmare on your hands, right? Managing upgrades here, managing updates here, components here, integrations here. It is nuts, and the poor backend developers are the ones just constantly putting out fires every day. Does that feel what relatable in here for some people? Where you're just constantly every day new fire you got to put out because of these multi-site issues? Yeah, okay. And then also too, the content and SEO conflicts. Any marketers in here or content authors in here? Yeah, we got some? Cool, awesome, perfect. So, you know the world, right? Where as you're dealing with all these multi-sites, all these sites you're managing, where you look on one site and it's duplicate content of another that hasn't been updated in years, right? All this stuff is just messy, and it not only is really, really expensive and costly, but it also is just not a great user experience either, because your users are getting wrong old information, right? And it's duplicated content everywhere, not great for SEO and all these other best practices. So these are those main issues that we see and why it can get messy. So we're gonna talk about the 3 things that we've learned over the many years doing multi-site. We can, like I said, we probably have 20 different points we can go to, but we've baked it down to 3 really significant ones that I think will help you in your everyday starting tomorrow, okay?
All right, so step 1, we're gonna talk about defining the standardized site architecture. So this is gonna happen before we do anything else, right? We're gonna do a deep dive, like a discovery and an audit to figure out the content, define these templates, the strategy, and really look at what needs to be created to ensure that as we grow and scale, we can have uniformity. We want to create guardrails as early as possible to just ensure that as sites scale and the whole code base scales, we have everything clearly defined in the beginning. This step is very crucial, cannot be kind of understated. Just talking about the navigations, content types, you really need to do the most amount of focus and time spent here, just doing the deep dive, ensuring, not just at a department level the needs, but really, the whole system. And this is often kind of overlooked. And we find that if you do a deep dive here, it's gonna save you, years down the line, because you're gonna have these things and guardrails set up so that as new stuff comes up, you have a solution, you have something in place, and you can just continue to grow with what you have while adhering to your guardrails that you've created. This is a very important step, and I feel like it's often overlooked.
Yeah, one thing too, when it comes to the defining that architecture early on, by the way, can you guys hear me okay without the mic? Yeah, okay. one thing that we also see a lot of is just what happens and is that you're looking sometimes at one site. Maybe it's the main.com or something like that, and that's the one site everyone's thinking about and looking at and building, right? And instead of looking at all the different sites that need to have that, what this system needs to support. So instead of just looking at that .com, go in and talk to all the different departments, all the different organizations that have these websites to understand collectively what are all the needs, what are all the feature functionality, all of that. So that way your new platform, your multi-site platform can meet all of those needs. And somehow, some way, we oftentimes just forget to do that. And we focus on that main website or that primary, and we miss the boat. So this is where defining that architecture, as Austin was saying, is so crucial, to really talk to everyone and understand what this platform needs to do.
Perfect.
Yeah. Cool. And then, and then in terms of the roles and governance, we actually have we like to say there's only two different really types of content management. It's either you trust your people or you don't. So we highly recommend always starting first with the trust, because at the end of the day, you don't want to set up too many roles and permissions and user roles and things like that. It just gets messy overall. And the big thing that you can do here is what we like to do is you always have your admin, right? The people who can add new users, the admin functions of the site. You can manage all the different sites. You can manage the navigation, all those kind of admin privileges, right? But the other bit is the editor publisher. We like to combine those every time. The reason is if you're able to edit the content, then you should publish the content. Does anyone, any of all my authors and content authors and marketers and stuff like that, do you all today be able to have the ability just to publish the content when you want? Yeah, you got a few? Anyone who can't? Anyone has to go through a workflow? Yeah, okay, I got to see a couple of people, that's awesome. So what we find really works well is removing that extra step, allowing people who edit that content to publish it right then and there. It just makes life easy. Also, too, just avoid that temptation to just create a role that just is like a reviewer or a publisher. Because the thing is especially as marketers and especially as people writing content, you're trying to do timely updates and edits, right? You want to get it up there, publish it, and get on with your life. So and it just can create frustration if you're now waiting for someone who might be on vacation or whatever, who's the only person who can publish that content. So avoid those things. Just keep it simple. Keep those really two types of permission levels. If you absolutely need a viewer role, go for it, but we rarely do that as well. But that is something that is an option based on your organization and your needs. If you need someone to just have a viewer role, great, but we rarely do it.
Perfect. And for step 3, we're going to talk more about automating and streamlined deployment. I'm a developer, and with multi-site, if you don't have this set up properly, this can just be a huge bottleneck and can be kind of your weekly pain that you're going to have to go through and update all these sites manually. So just kind of ensuring you have a proper, using as many modern platforms and tools as possible to automate as many of these different steps to build in all your CI/CD pipelines and just ensure you can quickly, easily update and maintain these sites in a succinct way where you're not having to go to every site manually and do these things. And then kind of having these 5 steps here to just kind of have, these are kind of good 5 rules that I like to have is, being able to back up all your sites as quickly and easily as possible, right? Documentation on how you're gonna roll back plan, right? Just ensuring everyone on the team knows what the steps are when something bad happens. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And then the communication plan is key here. So if something does fail, you're gonna have a clear, succinct communication plan, let everyone know what happened, what's happening to kind of remedy the issue. Always keeping update inventories on all the sites is important when you're dealing with multi-site, because you're gonna have those one-off weird things that you wanna be able to actually see with the live production content, know what's going on to quickly fix it. And then, in number 5, we're talking about having, Drush aliases all set up, because when you have, 100 sites on a multi-site solution, you're going to have a few sites fail, and that's bound to happen. So just having a succinct way to fix these things quickly and ensure you can just not have to rerun a full deployment and you can fix those 5 sites without having any downtime is super key. And just following these steps is key. If you're not doing these type of things right now, I'm sure you're wasting a ton of time on weekly deployments, or you're not deploying as often as you need to get security updates out there. So this is kind of key. And I mean, really, as a developer, this is like the power of multi-site, the stuff I enjoy and love. That makes my life a lot easier. And if you don't have this, it's something you really need to figure out and kind of really document out too is a key thing, because you got to think about people down the line, who's going to be touching this, how they're going to continue to maintain it. And just having that documentation plan and communication plan is great, especially for the marketing team. If something goes wrong, they want to be the first ones to know. And you want to let everyone know, hey, we know what's going on. This is how we're remedying it. It's going to be good. So these are very important steps.
Also too, like when it comes to streamlining and deployment, the other thing too is like where we talked about, like in the first step of thinking through a holistic site architecture that meets multiple site needs, right? Like all the sites you're going to be managing and supporting. One of the things too is when you bake that with the actual streamlining of deployments, you also are thinking about, well, how does the distribution of changes happen, right? Like, so if new components are changed that affect 100, 200, 500 sites, how does that work, right? When you're distributing changes, like how does that deployment look? What does that QA process look like, right? Those are things to really think through, even at that architecture level at the very beginning, right?
No, exactly. Yeah. And having a good documentation plan to let people know when those updates are going to be ready and available. Yeah. That's key.
Awesome. Cool.
All right.
So these are the three ones that like I said, we could have 20 different points, but these are the three we find are just absolutely crucial and is normally the source of why multi-site gets messy if you don't do those three right. But the ability to do that with that defined architecture, with the roles and governance, as well as the deployment plans, this allows you to keep that control while scaling smoothly. And one thing that we'll kind of get into is we have actually a really special guest here at Tulare County. Why don't you guys raise your hands there? There we go, Tulare County. Yeah, okay, give him a hand. So we got just a couple minutes to show. Yeah, we got a couple. We could kind of show you a little bit of what this looks like in real life. Okay, so when you put all these things together, how does that really look like? What does that really look like when you think of like a scalable architecture and themes and components that work for many, many different sites, right? Yep. So with that, you want to take on?
Yeah.
Get down.
So kind of to do a quick overview, this was a 50 site consolidation and kind of a migration off of different CMS. So we wanted to clean up the assets and kind of redefine these departments and ensure that this new multi-site solution, provided guardrails to ensure that all 50, departments could have their own kind of feel and look, while ensuring we have that kind of, that design architecture that's going to allow us to grow and kind of keep constant image and branding throughout the whole experience for the users. So we can kind of see here, we'll quickly go through some of these. This is kind of talking back to that site architecture and that discovery and how important that first step is. And Josh just always looks great here. Look at him go. But kind of want to show you this. We simplified the theming here with all these different color themes while ensuring the custom brand, but giving the flexibility for all the different departments to have their own, feeling and brand without breaking the actual the county brand, I guess.
Yeah, well, especially too, like where you have like 9 different themes. So like, imagine like, do you ever feel like, does this statement feel true where everybody is like a designer? Like everyone has their own like design feels and opinions, right? So like one of the things that comes when you're dealing with, 100, 200 plus departments and each one of them have their own web stakeholder, it can get tricky coming up with a solution, right, for that. But when you can actually create a robust theme that a robust set of components and library where it allows people to have that flexibility, while that they can feel like they're still making it their own, but while it's still adhering to your structure, your site structure, your components, and your overall architecture, so you're not breaking anything, that is key. So this is really kind of, and as Austin's gonna kind of get into what that looks like.
Yeah. So here you can kind of see that robust component library that inherits all of those 9 different color themes, really simplified and really easy for the user to kind of define at a department level and have a color theme inherited, or on a component level be able to overwrite that. So it's kind of ensuring they get a little bit of flexibility and customization, getting some brand identity, but adhering to the overall county brand guidelines, which is the big thing. So this is going to allow it to kind of scale up, grow up, without getting too messy and kind of keeping that consistent theme that we really want to ensure.
Yeah.
So this is also something we kind of did where we kind of moved away a little bit from the department navigation and talked more about like task-based navigation. But sadly, we're kind of short on time here. We do have a full talk about it. You can kind of scan the QR code, check out a full longer talk we did about multi-site solutions.
Yeah, with Tulare County as well. So we kind of walked through every bit, all the lessons learned and all the other stuff there. So it's a really, really great resource. Yeah, this will just get you a copy of that webinar on demand, I guess you can call
it. Yep.
And then, yeah, so definitely check that out. I'll give you guys a minute I see some people taking a picture of it. So give a minute to do that. Yeah, and then we also, okay, cool, we got some people doing it. Man, I should have been prepared for a joke during this time when everyone's like getting their phones out.
Okay, I do have a quick joke. If you were wondering, yes, Josh did decide to copy my outfit today. But that's okay, it happens.
This is what happens when you tell your chief creative officer to do whatever they want, right? This is what happens.
We also have a complimentary ADA audit. We all know deadlines are kind of coming up here. So we'd love to talk to you about this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Do we have time for questions? I know we're at time, right?
I remember. Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah.
If no one else does, I'll ask one.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with so we abandoned multi-site years ago, and I'm curious, Pantheon wrote a big article about the evil of multi-sites, and I'm curious just your overall opinion on multi-sites in 2026 with Drupal.
Yeah, I mean, I think nothing's perfect, right? But I think at the end of the day, it's, really looking at what the customer is, going to be a quality solution for the customer. And not every customer needs a multi-site solution.
Right.
But I do think it does provide a lot of flexibility and kind of going back to the guardrail theme, right? It really does provide a lot of guardrails to ensure that you don't maybe need a very large technical staff to kind of monitor and maintain and keep one up, and I think that's really important for a lot of users, or the right user.
Yeah.
And a multi-site solution was really great for that.
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah, that's a great point though.
Yeah, what's up?
For the automated deployments, do you guys do any visual regression testing to see if anything failed?
Yeah, we've definitely worked that into some of ours. It kind of a case-by-case study, but
Yeah, visual regression as well as all test-driven development as a whole, putting all those checkers in, so that way when you're committing code and stuff, it's just running those tasks, automatically. So those are all big ones that we do leading up to deployments. Yeah.
I feel like there's been some new tools too that have made it a little easier recently. So.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, thank you all. Appreciate it. Oh, nice.
Yeah.